legend starts. In-depth words cutting deep as cleats. Every play analyzed heartbeat by beat. Interviews, raw stories unfold. Behind the curtain, the secrets told. The Golden Room Podcast, sweeping the game from the 50-yard line to the Hall of Fame. Breaking it down, tearing it apart. The Golden Room Podcast, where legends start.
Welcome in to the Golden Broom Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Slavinsky, joined tonight by Tim Bailey, the legend and invisible spot for Vandy Chris, who will be here whenever he graces us with his presence. Tim, what's up, buddy?
Dude, not too much, man. How are you doing?
I mean, I'm doing pretty good now that, LSU has an AD and a president, so can't really complain now.
Hey, there you go. Progress, a step in the right direction.
Exactly. I feel like they made the right decision on both people. Ferg Osbury is very well known at LSU, former player in the late 80s to early 90s, been on the administrative staff for over 20 plus years. He knows his stuff. The interim was removed today, so good to go on that. So now the coaching search can begin, to say the least.
Absolutely. That's you can't get better without getting a coach. That's the first step.
It's true. Sure. Well, I mean, to be fair, LSU probably will be better without a coach for right now.
It's interesting. We'll see how they show up against Alabama on Saturday, but I've been talking to a couple of my Alabama friends, and they're like, I almost wish Brian Kelly wasn't fired because he's kind of a jerk. It's not like he's a good coach, but a jerk. Whereas, have a guy like Florida, you don't know what's going to happen with them because even though maybe Billy Napier's not a great coach, they really liked Billy Napier.
Exactly.
So, seems like the players didn't like Brian Kelly. And
exactly. I mean, there were some that did like him. There were a few that did, but I really think that at this point we're about to see. I mean, it's a couple of possibilities. I mean, it can either be LSU just stays what they are and just get embarrassed, or LSU comes out like a wounded tiger and says, "Hey, if we can't make it, you can't make it. Watch this," and then beats everybody.
Yeah, does what OU did last year at Alabama.
Exactly. Which, honestly, it sucks to be Alabama right now. I just want to throw that out there.
It's a tough 2-week stretch because they've got LSU. Depending on which version LSU's obviously talented enough to win. Whether they will or not, I mean, I wouldn't put money on it.
No, I wouldn't either.
But then you have Oklahoma, who they're gaining confidence. That's a really young team. 3 freshman offensive linemen who played fantastic against Tennessee, right? And so, they're starting to figure it out. And then you saw John Mateer kind of come alive in the second half of that Tennessee, which that's been really Oklahoma's issue. Since John Mateer's went down, Oklahoma went from. I mean, if John Mateer never gets hurt, that team's probably undefeated.
Fully agree. I do. They should not have lost that Texas game. But I'll just be honest there. That was terrible.
Yeah, the Ole Miss game, you lose a fumble on a punt return, you probably win that game if you don't fumble the ball.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of just been the Achilles heel for this team under Brent Venables over the last couple of years. Some key mistakes in the wrong moments, and of course that had to flash its ugly head last week too. So
yeah,
it's very interesting. But for Alabama, what they do have is those 2 games at home. So that's enormous for them. As we've seen, winning in the SEC on the road is very difficult. Credit the teams that have managed to make that happen. Alabama has a big road win over Missouri. But road win over Georgia. Oklahoma has a big road win over Tennessee. Ole Miss a big road win over Oklahoma. It's very hard to win on the road.
Yep.
So credit to them, and look at what Texas has done. Texas hasn't been at home since mid-September.
Yeah.
And they won the neutral site Red River game against Oklahoma, and then people really don't know how annoying Mississippi State and Arkansas are this year, even though they're not great teams.
Oh yeah.
teams are real frustrating to play against because they've got a lot of good things going for them. They're just not complete, so they cause you some issues, and then everyone's like, "How is this a close game?"
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I mean, Mississippi State's literally like 3 plays away from being a 2-loss team.
Yeah, they could have
Like,
easily beaten. They dropped a ball
mhm.
that them from winning that game, more or less, against Tennessee, and then. If they could have just made one more play against Florida, they get into field goal range to win that one.
Yep.
Uh, and then what was their other loss? They lost to who else did they lose to?
Carolina.
Did they lose to Vanderbilt? No.
No, it was South Carolina, Georgia. No, they played
Right.
Georgia this week, sorry. No, South Carolina, Texas,
Yeah, they lost to Texas. They had a 17-point
yeah.
fourth quarter.
That they should have won that game. There's no excuse for that one. That was embarrassing.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah.
it is what it is. I mean, watching Brandon Walker break down was hilarious, so it's all good.
Heck of a job by Jeff Lebby, honestly. Though they also
Absolutely.
defending Big 12 champion in Arizona State, and
Yep.
that's the team that beat Texas Tech. I mean, they would still be in the playoff hunt right now had it not been for Mississippi State finding a way.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, speaking of Texas Tech, their game with BYU this weekend is going to be phenomenal, I think.
It's a big one, and they're fortunate to have that game at home as well.
Yep.
BYU is a pretty tough place to play, and it's up in the
Yep.
mountains. It's a big deal that they get to play that one right there in the big old West Texas plains. But yeah, that'll be a huge game, and I wonder how much of BYU are we just not respecting BYU enough? Because I don't know that BYU gets the proper respect. You know how hard it is to be undefeated in college football right now.
Oh,
It's
for sure.
right. The I mean, and all these teams that are undefeated in college football have had some close scares, except for Ohio State, whose
Yep.
closest game was the Texas game that let's be honest, they controlled. They controlled for much of the game. It was
Oh,
14, 3 minutes left. So, aside from Ohio State, though, Indiana's had some games. They could have lost to Iowa. They could have lost to Oregon. A&M A&M, A&M probably A&M got a very fortunate that hold didn't get called against Notre Dame. They should have lost that game.
Oh, for sure.
And
Absolutely.
then played a 50-50 game with Arkansas.
Yeah.
Arkansas very bad at flipping coins.
Oh,
Horrible. Yeah.
let me
Uh,
get. So Jim is right here. By the way, it is baseball season. I will throw that out there. He is correct. Fall ball is happening. Scrimmages are happening, and I'm loving every second of it. I really wish I would have went to Biloxi over the weekend. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it, but LSU looked good, and that's all that matters. So
you need a little good news.
yes, that honestly, right now, I think that's the only positive going on at LSU is their baseball program. Women's basketball is fine and all that, and gymnastics is also really, really good. But yeah, baseball is the cream of the crop,
Yeah.
thankfully.
Women's sports. I think Oklahoma might be the top women's sports program in the SEC now.
I mean,
Gymnastics,
that's hard to argue.
softball. Get the number one freshman player in the country for women's basketball.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to argue. I mean, Oklahoma's obviously their gymnastics program is like second to none,
It's so crazy to think that like OU softball isn't the best program at OU.
which is really weird considering how dominant they've been.
But they just they didn't what was it? They didn't five-peat this year.
Yeah. Oh no.
They lost in the semifinals. That team won the SEC in a supposed rebuild, right? They lost
Yeah.
that legend class that won 4 national championships, and they won the SEC the very first year.
Yeah. So
Crazy.
I mean, it is crazy. So I got a few games. I made some graphics for the show tonight. Kind of quickly review some of these matchups. We'll save the OU Tennessee game for last, so I'll let you talk about it. Georgia Tech falls to NC State. Not the team you want to end your undefeated run to, probably.
Man, boy, is NC State a problem. They also beat was it Virginia?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a real ACC thorn because NC State's a team that's well coached and they've got some good players on their team.
Yeah.
CJ, really good quarterback. I know Hollywood Smothers is currently out with an injury, but he's played very well for them
Yep.
this year. And then the guy who filled in for him had a heck of a day against Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
I think 170 yards or something like that on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia Tech is a good program under Brent Key. They're really building something, but you can tell they're still not quite where you want to be.
Yeah.
And you look at the schedules coming up, and honestly, man, like it really looks good in my opinion, looking at it. I think it looks pretty good for Duke, and it looks pretty good
Mm-hmm.
for Louisville.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And so the ACC is very interesting. It's probably the most interesting league. I do think it's the worst Power 4 league this year. I don't think that's quite debatable.
Yeah, I think it's very fair.
SMU has a really good path as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Man, boy, is that tough to figure out who's going to win that league.
Yeah, I really have no idea. I mean, you could say Virginia is the favorite if you wanted to, but there's so many arguments in that league right now.
I don't know. I look at Louisville. Louisville's probably the favorite.
That's fair.
Louisville also has a really good non-conference win over James Madison, too.
That is true, and James Madison's actually very strong this year.
Yeah, they're probably me when I watch them. I think that they're the best Group of 5 team.
I think that's fair.
But obviously Memphis and North Texas and those teams are really vying for that spot right now because they've had stronger non-conferences, and the American is obviously the best Group of 5 league. So I can understand why they're getting that respect, but I really think James is very good.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, unfortunately, the Sun Belt's very just kind of down this year when they probably should have been up.
Yeah, very bad year for the Sun Belt. But I don't know. But yeah, Georgia Tech, I mean, they kind of got dominated in this game. It really wasn't close for big stretches of the season.
Oh, yeah.
Really laid it out there for them. Georgia Tech obviously has some work to do on defense to get this right. But I've kind of thought, I think that they're a transitional team. I think that this team now is very important. It reminds me of, it's not as good as these teams, but it reminds me of those Notre Dame teams with Ian Book, where like Haynes, that guy who's like an Ian Book, his contributions are going to be enormous for the way the program continues moving forward, but it's just not time right now. We're not there. So I don't know. I think Georgia Tech loses probably at least one more in the ACC play, just because I think they've been flirting with it for a while. I mean, Duke doesn't have a fumble at the Georgia Tech 1 yard line that gets returned for a touchdown. I mean, they probably lose to Duke. So they try to lose every week.
Absolutely.
So the other teams just don't want to give it, don't want to take that win. But NC State had no problem going ahead and humbling them. But yeah, I don't think Georgia Tech's still in the college football playoff hunt, but I don't think that they're a college football playoff quality team. If they do make it, I think it'll be cool for the revenue for their school because they'd probably host one and then they'd probably get blown out by whoever made it.
Yeah. That being said, I would like to see them play spoiler to Georgia this year.
That's all fun. I want. They had a chance last year.
Exactly.
Probably win that game against Georgia.
Yeah. And then obviously North Texas takes out Navy and Navy's undefeated run. More than likely the hottest prospect in the transfer portal soon, Drew Mestamaker, just dominating at quarterback. North Texas is legit this year. I mean, I think they're going to beat anyone in the playoff if they make it? No, but it's a good story.
Yeah, I mean, North Texas is good. I think that they were their losses to Memphis, if I'm not, or was it South Florida?
South Florida.
They got dominated pretty good in that South Florida game. So there's obviously some flaws, but they're very well coached. They've got a good quarterback. A guy like you mentioned who probably won't be there next year because someone's going to have more money than North Texas to pull him there somewhere else. But yeah, I mean the American's a good league. Very good. It's going to be very interesting. Speaking of the American, boy, Tulane. That was not the showing that you want. It makes me think somebody's having some conversations with their head coach, Mr.
Yeah,
Summerall.
yeah, their 2 losses this year have been just very underwhelming.
Yeah. And this is a team who handled Duke, who very well may be the ACC champion this year too.
Yeah,
Into you know,
and I mean, to be fair, let's just go ahead and be real. Summerall's out. There's no way he's coming back next year.
no shot because like
Yeah.
every guy that they get that's good, they just get plucked from somewhere. Plucks those guys. They take them.
Yep. And I mean, honestly, I think he'd be a good fit at Auburn. He already knows how to recruit the state of Alabama. He now has ties in the Louisiana. I mean, why not?
Yeah, I mean, man, I, I don't know who LSU's going to get, but I think he would be a pretty good fit at LSU as well for a lot of the reasons.
I think he will be talked to about the job for sure. I don't know if he's their top target, but I know betting odds, he's a high favorite. But
Yeah.
when the Auburn job came open, the odds shifted a lot. And then he went to like number 3 or 4 on the list, and then he went to number 1 at Auburn. So
No, we're
I
going
have
to
no
cover.
idea.
No, we're going to cover the coaching carousel a little bit more later, and there's some very interesting things to talk about with that. So I'll save it for that portion of the
For
session.
sure. For sure. Georgia, Florida, as usual, controversy on the field. I'll be honest, I think the Florida receiver had his arms under the ball. I don't think the ball touched the ground. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I think that was a catch. My reaction to that in frenzy, I'm not sure if you saw it, was, what's the point of using replay if we're still just going to get it wrong?
Yeah.
Like, there's a brown football. It hits the blue and the red on the guy's jersey, and we don't see it hit the green. This wasn't a hard one. It just
Yeah.
wasn't. My question is like, who are these officials that say that they see this ball hit the ground that never touched the ground? Like, do they think they an anime reference here? Do they think they're Itachi Uchiha? Do they have a Mangekyo Sharingan? Like, what are they looking at? How do they think that this ball, like, how do you think you see something that doesn't happen?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, realistically, they just need to let regular people off the street like us come in there and look at the video because, I mean,
I'm
this
blind
is
to my,
ridiculous.
and I knew that was a catch before. Like,
There you go. I mean, it's just insane. Like I don't understand it. But either way, though, Georgia pulls out another controversial game,
now I
and
think to win that game anyways. I mean, here's the
yeah,
I got to give credit to Georgia because there's one thing Georgia does very well, and Georgia does this at an elite level like nobody else does. In situational football, Georgia is the best situational football team in the country.
sure,
They make elite plays in elite situations. It's a credit to their staff. It's a credit to Kirby Smart. We try a 4th and 1, and people are like, "Why are we trying to run the ball up the middle?" Like, as if Jordan Ball is not the best player on Florida's team. Like, of course you're going to do that. Or, you try a quarterback run with your 250-pound quarterback and you can't get a first down. Like, that's the right play. It's the right play,
yep,
man. I agree with going for it. I liked the aggressiveness, and it didn't work because Georgia continues, earlier in the game before this catch situation, that 4th down in Georgia territory. Florida turns it over on downs. Georgia
yep,
just really makes those plays, and that's why they're so good. But they do probably need to stop spotting people points and probably, maybe start fast. I'm sure.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Next game was Vanderbilt, Texas. Vanderbilt essentially just dug way too big of a hole way too quickly. And while they tried to make some kind of miraculous comeback, it just wasn't good enough at the end.
Let's just call it what it was. Texas beat the dog water out of Vanderbilt.
They really did, and then they just slowed up at the end, just like, all right, here's
Vanderbilt
some pity points.
time touchdowns to make it look like it wasn't a complete like head busting, but like Texas was thoroughly dominated Vanderbilt. Texas thoroughly dominated that team. I mean, it is what it is. I
Colin
mean,
Simmons is so good, by the way. Just want to throw
yeah,
that out there.
that's a beast. And Arch Manning, he just continues to get better and better week to week.
I really liked how he looked the other day, actually. He really improved. Apparently, he just needs to get concussed more, and he'll be fine.
We go, knock his brain, give him get a factory reset.
So I
Uh,
mean, it was insane. He looked like a polished quarterback against Vanderbilt, which, to
how
be
about
fair, Vanderbilt's secondary is very shaky.
that? Vanderbilt's a team that I respect a lot because I know how hard it is to win at Vanderbilt. So I don't want to diminish what Vanderbilt's doing, but Vanderbilt to me was a team that had a very, very good record due to a schedule that was not as good as we thought it was going to be.
Very true.
So, you know, we thought LSU was going to be very good. They weren't.
Yeah,
The only that Vanderbilt's played this year that I would consider very good is, and it's not that the LSU win isn't a good win. LSU's not terrible, but we thought LSU was a potential playoff contending team. They
yeah,
played one Alabama, and Alabama handled them pretty easily, and so
yeah.
did Texas. Um, that's where I'm at on it. Vanderbilt very well coached, but there's a ceiling to what Vanderbilt can do. Um, I don't think they beat Tennessee in a couple weeks. I don't think that's controversial take.
Sure.
Um, you know, but good team, good bowl game. Maybe 10 wins if things go a little bit in their favor. But Texas was better. How about that Ryan Wingo sighting?
God, dude, he's pretty special.
You're like, I wish I had one of those.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
run.
I mean, do you think Texas is going to make a run at the end of the year?
I think they're capable of it. Obviously, like personnel wise, they have some of the best personnel in college football. They don't really have any specific weakness aside from their offensive line, which is really just a young group, right?
Yeah,
Um, how tough the SEC can be for a young offensive line, or an offensive line that doesn't have a consistent combination, right? Like, um, especially me, I'll tell you. Um, but I honestly think Texas, you get a week off, you get an opportunity to play Georgia. The tough part for them is they got to go to Athens. But
yeah.
here, I don't see a 9-3 team making the college football playoff.
Nah,
Unless
it'd take a miracle.
yes, so Texas is going to have to win all the rest of their games. Now, I actually like their matchup against Texas A&M quite a lot, especially at home. Georgia's had their number, though. I mean, until they prove me otherwise, I'm going to say they lose that game to Georgia.
All right, so you say a three-loss team won't make the playoffs. So let me throw this hypothetical situation at you. And again, I don't think it's going to happen, but LSU already has three losses. Let's say they go to Bama, they win. They beat Arkansas, they beat Western Kentucky, they go to OU and they win. And let's say OU beats Alabama. Do you have to have a conversation for LSU to potentially get in? And
LSU's
let's
lost.
say they win by at least 2 scores against OU and Alabama.
I don't know. I don't think that there's a path for a 9-3 team to make the college football playoff.
I mean, I'm fine with that too.
I just don't think there's a path. I mean, there's every few years there's going to be a 9-3 team that's in that conversation. Last year we probably would have had a 9-3 team in the playoff had Clemson not upset SMU in the ACC championship game.
Yeah,
So is it impossible? It's not. But I look at Notre Dame. That's a team that will have won 10 straight. You're not going to put LSU in over them.
oh, for sure, for sure.
Then you have Miami, and if they end up 10-2 and don't make the ACC championship game, but they have that win over Notre Dame, they're going to be hard to ignore.
That's a very good point.
you know, um, if suddenly LSU beats Bama and OU beats Bama, those are 2 wins over 9-3 teams that are okay.
Yeah,
Not a great. Those aren't great performances anymore because now those teams are like decent but not amazing, right? It's
yeah,
um, I think that the 9-3 team that would have the best chance would probably be Oklahoma if they were to lose a close one to Bama and then win the last 2.
that's fair.
I don't think a 9-3 team should make the playoffs. and unless like it's necessitated by other teams just not handling business, so you've got to choose a 9-3 team. So I don't think that I don't think there's a path. I mean, you look at the ACC and how many 2-loss teams there are in there that wouldn't have to make the ACC championship game to go 10-2. It's just hard.
Yeah.
Would he really be controversial enough to give a team that's 9-3 a nod into the playoff? Because I mean, let's keep it 100. Like 9-3 is not earning your way in. That's finding a
No.
way to get.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And then the Big Ten, man, like there's a lot of teams that could end up 10-2 and not make the championship game, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, the Big Ten is so weird because they have way too many teams, just like the SEC.
the Big Ten's interesting, right? Here's another scenario for a 9-3 team. Michigan loses a close one to Ohio State, and then
Okay.
SC gets into the Big Ten championship game to play Ohio State,
Okay.
and Oklahoma wins out. Now suddenly you have 3 losses to 3 play.
That's a good point.
But these scenarios, I think that there's some help that's needed. I think Notre Dame has to lose to Pitt. I think that's the big elephant in the room. And then I think Miami needs Carson Beck to lose them another game.
Yeah.
Um,
He,
so I,
he's pretty good at it right now. Hold on one second.
yeah.
Sorry, I had to grab my drink there. I was getting very dry mouth.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, to me, it's just hard because you need a lot to happen for a 9-3 team to make.
Oh, for sure. I mean, but that being said, though, if there is a first team to do it, it'd probably be LSU since they were the first 2-loss team to win a natty. So,
Why not? Let's keep the trend going, right?
right. So, and it would only make sense too if a coachless LSU team would make it. But again, I would say the percent chance I would give LSU to make the playoff if they win out, I'm still at like 2%.
Yeah, and I mean this with no disrespect. If we're keeping it real, like, what are the true odds of LSU beating Alabama and or Oklahoma?
Beating both, I'd say you're probably looking realistically about maybe a 15% chance, and that's being generous right now.
Yeah, we don't know what LSU is going to look like. Maybe if they come out and suddenly they're clicking on offense and they're playing defense, then Barry Kelly, hope he has a good TV career.
I hope he has a terrible TV career. I absolutely hate the man. I try to defend him for so long, and I try to just believe that he's going to get it right. That man was terrible.
He was not a fit at LSU, but
Not at all. But realistically, has he been a fit anywhere he's ever been? Even when he was winning, like, did he really fit the culture?
I thought he was really good for Cincinnati.
Yes, but did he actually care about Cincinnati is the question.
Well, I mean, they had an undefeated team that could have an argument for a national championship game, a chance against with Tim Tebow, and he went to Notre Dame. So that probably answers your question.
Yeah, that's a shame too.
And it was an opportunity to go to Notre Dame, so I can't necessarily fault him either. But he's Notre Dame's winningest coach ever, which is kind of crazy to think.
It's kind of embarrassing, actually.
I mean, he was just there a long time. Notre Dame's coaches typically weren't there a long time. They'd go to the NFL.
Yeah, which honestly, I could see him going to the NFL.
I think
His
that'd be a good,
personality fits it perfect.
for sure. Yeah, I just don't think it was a good fit for him. I think ultimately, like, he's a good coach. I don't think that's debatable. He wasn't even bad at LSU. He was 30-14. It's not like he was awful at LSU. He just didn't
That was
live
the
up to.
worst record over the last 4 coaches in that span, by the way.
Yeah, but it's by one game, right? One game less than.
Roughly, yeah. But I mean, the fact that he couldn't get anything going really, I mean, the fact that he can make a SEC championship appearance, bring in a Heisman winner, have 2 first-round wide receivers, and still and really 2 at least, well, 1 really good offensive lineman that was a first rounder, another offensive lineman that had potential to be a first rounder but kind of dropped. But either way, have all this talent and do nothing with it, such a disservice.
Yeah, for sure.
Which poor Jaden Daniels, man. God almighty.
Am I there? My
Yeah,
bad.
you're here. Yeah. Can you hear
Give
me?
me just a. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. Tim is having technical difficulties. He will be back shortly. But yeah, poor Jaden Daniels, man. Oh, when he broke his arm or separated, dislocated. I don't know what the official injury is being called. That was a shame. He was obviously my fantasy quarterback in my work league, and it hadn't worked out too well. I did pick up Joe Flacco, and of course, I had him on the bench this past week because why not?
Here we go. Is this
All right,
working?
you were working the whole time. To be honest, I could hear you no problem.
That was super weird because it was like it was not working, but we're good now, so that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I was talking about how unfortunate it was Jaden Daniels' injury the other day.
That's tough. I do want to say something about that though. I think we really need to stop trying to blame coaches.
Yeah, it's not
Uh,
the coach's fault.
we need to stop blaming coaches for players that he had missed so many games. He needed reps to try to get back
I
into
agree.
form. And so him getting hurt, he could have gotten hurt in the first quarter. He could have gotten hurt walking to the fucking excuse me. He could have gotten hurt
You're fine.
walking room. It's just football, man. Like sometimes things don't work out the way we want them to. It's that
Yeah,
simple. Um,
it is a
you know,
shame.
and if Jaden wasn't very good the next game, people would be asking why didn't he use that third and fourth quarter to get some reps in?
Oh yeah.
You know,
Also, how much money do you want to put on it that Cam Scatabo has already told the office at the Giants that he could go right now?
that kid's nuts.
He is, and I know for a fact he's probably. I'm good. I can go. I can go.
Yeah, if he was a quarterback, he'd probably play through that injury.
Probably. I mean, dude, he's a psycho, and I love everything about him. Like he is probably my favorite football player currently. He is just that. He's just that dude.
Dude, he is a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I've never seen someone play through a concussion the way that he did in college. I mean, like it's insane. He's definitely an old school football player, and that's very missed in this era of football. That being said, though, the last game to review right here, I'm going to let you just have the floor with this one. Rundown OU Tennessee, very very good win for Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's a huge win for OU. In the first quarter, Tennessee had a very good script, and the first quarter they did quite a lot to the OU defense. Now, the OU defense earned a 3-and-out and got kind of screwed by a really bad defensive pass interference call, which led to Tennessee scoring their first touchdown.
Yep.
But that second drive of the game, every offensive line is going to have a really hard time against the Oklahoma defensive front. But when you got a freshman right tackle, that's real tough to be lined up against that linebacker, Taylor, to be lined up that linebacker for OU. And he came in, 38 came in, made a hit, got the ball out, and our Mason Thomas dragged a feller about 25 yards and scored him a long fumble recovery touchdown. Got injured and missed the rest of the game. But
That still was my favorite play of the game, by the way. Even
yes,
even with the injury, that was unfortunate, but that was
Brent,
awesome.
he shouldn't miss any time. So that's good.
That's good. That's very good.
Quad issue. No hamstring, thankfully. Quad.
Yeah,
So,
man, poor guy, to say the least. Though that was a shame when he had to go out. I was happy it didn't cost them the game, though. That was my big thing I was worried about.
because Taylor Wine has just been really good for Oklahoma. He's almost been a 1B to our Mason's 1A, and our Mason's going to be a dude in the NFL. He's a Sunday player for sure.
Oh, for sure, 1,000%. He's got first round potential in him.
Yeah. He would probably be my All-American edge right now.
I like that. I really do.
How about the kicker? And his Daisy Dukes out there kicking bombs.
Dude, that's so funny to me. I loved every bit of that.
He said after on Monday when they showed him some videos, he said he didn't realize his shorts were that short. He said, but now I'm plus yarders, now I've got to wear them every game. So,
whatever it takes to make you feel comfortable out there as a kicker, do it. That's all I can say.
question though, how awful was that game officiated? Just like Tennessee had so many missed holding calls. I've never seen I mean, David Stone was getting jersey leashed in this game, and there was just no.
Yeah,
It was crazy. I mean, I'm not usually. I get like they're going to let a lot of holding go in the SEC. That's kind of their MO. But
yeah.
Oklahoma got 3 holding calls in that game, and Tennessee got called for 0. And I take quite a bit of exception with that, with what I witnessed.
And I feel like really only one of the holding calls against OU was like truly legit. The other two were pretty extreme considering the ones that were missed. Because I was even shocked about that one.
Yeah,
But
so cool with calling the holding calls against OU. All 3 of them were legitimate calls. But when the other side's not getting called, I wasn't appreciative of that. And I thought that
yeah,
was, and maybe this is the breakthrough opportunity, but I don't think Oklahoma has peaked. I don't think they've played a complete game this year, which is both scary and, you might have to ask, well, are they capable of playing a complete game?
yeah,
Both of those are very possible. But, Oklahoma didn't play great offensively in the first half. And in the second half, I thought they really dominated the game on both sides for the most part. I thought the adjustments that Brent Venables and Ben Arbuckle made really turned the game around. The only reason why this game closer than it actually was is because of that silly pull of the RPO by John Mateer with 4 minutes left that got picked off in a crowd.
yeah,
That doesn't. We got 100 less. We got literally right on the dot 100 less yards for Tennessee. We've got probably a 33 or a 29-17 win for Oklahoma, where the team that had 250 yards in the first half would have only had about 100 in the second,
yeah,
all off of one tackle. I mean, they're making Tennessee count in 3 and punt it to them because they didn't turn it over in the second half.
yeah.
You know who stood out to me though for Tennessee? That
Who's
Farouk
that?
kid. That is
Yep.
that kid. And the play he made to keep them in it, where he just had a well timed punch out of Xavier Robinson right
Mm-hmm.
inside. That was a game that could have, if they had won, that would have been looked back as, man, what a game saving heroic play there that would have been for
Oh
them.
yeah.
He's such a good player, such a good young player. He's going to be a star for them.
Oh, amen to that. Absolutely. So let me remove this graphic from the screen real quick. The big thing that we need to kind of touch on, which I know obviously it's the first week of the college football playoff rankings, so it doesn't really hold much weight. Is there
Sure.
anybody that you see in this top 12 that you say they do not deserve to be there, or at the end of the there's zero chance they're here at the end of the year?
Even though I think Notre Dame will be in this field, I think that should be Oklahoma at 10 over Notre Dame, because
So
Oklahoma quality wins that Notre Dame doesn't have.
so then let me ask you to defend this. Why should Oklahoma get there but not Texas?
So Texas's problem is they have a bad loss. They do have the
Yeah,
head-to-head, but I think most people don't see Oklahoma and Texas as an equal team where a head-to-head would be a tie-breaking factor. I think most people view Oklahoma as the better team, even though Texas did win on the field.
yeah,
I think the resume is just overall better. Beating
sure.
and the Michigan win is a huge one, whereas Texas just has the win over Oklahoma. But I would
Yeah,
be okay being there. I don't think that that's a problem for me.
sure. I mean, cause
Uh,
see, for me, like I think that for OU, I think the one thing that the committee would show grace on is the fact that Mateer was not ready when he came back against Texas.
I think that's pretty clear. Mateer has not played well since that game against Texas, outside
Hmm.
of 2 ball, but he hasn't played that horribly either.
Sure.
And the Mateer you got against Ole Miss wasn't good enough to win the game against Ole Miss, despite mistakes. I think that of the mistakes around him, I think if that Mateer played against Texas, that they would have won that game.
That's
Because
fair.
really, Oklahoma dominated that first half and didn't really have a whole lot to show for it against Texas. And, you could argue the same thing for Tennessee there. But, yeah, I think that if you wanted to make it Texas instead of Oklahoma, I wouldn't have an issue with that. But I do think in my personal rankings, I have Texas ahead of Oklahoma
That's
because of
fair.
that. But I think that knowing how the committee thinks, I don't think Notre Dame will be. I don't know that I think Notre Dame will be there when this comes out. Or is this already the one that just came out?
This is the one that came out tonight.
Wow. Yeah.
So I'll pull up the actual ranking and I'll tell you where they have everybody at real quick because I feel like that's pretty important at this point.
I don't know why Indiana's too.
Well, I mean to be fair, their win against Oregon looks good. Their
It,
drubbing of Illinois looks good.
their win against Iowa is pretty good too.
Yeah, it's also not that good.
Although, but here's my thing, right? I don't know. I guess, Oregon is ranked ahead of Notre Dame. That makes me question if Notre Dame. But A&M has that win over Notre Dame. You know?
Yeah. Which, by the way, I want to point out, Memphis is actually not ranked in the college football playoff top 25.
Oh, they don't have a single G5 team ranked.
No, not a single team. So Tennessee got the number 25 ranking.
Okay.
Uh, Pitt's 24, Washington 23, Mizzou 22, which Mizzou's kind of screwed right now. Losing their quarterback, even though Zollers is a good replacement, he's not quite ready, I don't think. And I think A&M beats the snot out of them.
I
Um,
matchup's interesting because A&M's rush defense is like a latch door. It's a gate with no latch,
yeah,
and I'm crazy on that team.
I think so too, and I hope that happens. I really do. I like Missouri a lot. I think they're a good team. Michigan's 21, Iowa 20, USC 19, which I think is way, way, way overrated in my opinion. I don't think USC is that good.
They did beat Michigan though.
Yeah, but I also don't think Michigan's a top 25 team, unfortunately.
That's possible too.
Yeah. Oh, look who finally decides to show up. Jeez. No, I'm just kidding, Chris. You're fine.
Oh, that was interesting.
Chris, you stuck out like a sore thumb on that show. I just want to throw that out there.
Oh yeah, I know what you're saying. It
But
was
no,
fun to do though.
I was watching. It was a good show. It actually was. Everybody on there knew what they were talking about. All right. Miami is number 18, Georgia Tech 17, Vandy 16, Louisville 15, Virginia 14, Utah 13, OU 12, Texas 11. So they're right there on the fringe to hop in.
Yeah.
Then you have Notre Dame 10 and well, you see the rest of the rankings right there.
I understand why Texas is ahead of OU with the head-to-head. I had forgotten that they had released these rankings when we talked about it. Like I said, I think most people don't view those two teams as similar, and that's why they were simulating that Texas would be ranked behind. But I think Notre Dame, even though I do think they'll make the college football playoff, I think that for now they should be ranked behind the pair of Oklahoma and Texas, just because they don't have the wins that stacked up with Oklahoma and Texas's wins right now.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, you have Texas with a win over Oklahoma, and then Oklahoma with 2 wins in the top 25.
Yeah, because realistically, Notre Dame's best win is what, USC, NC State, and Arkansas.
Yeah, USC is a good fair. I don't think USC is as good of a win as beating Oklahoma. Now, granted, Notre Dame doesn't have a bad loss.
Yeah, not at all. Both were one possession games, so
yeah, and then Oklahoma did lose. If you're charged with watching that game, this is why I tell you that sometimes you can have a game that's 14 or more points that's not a blowout, and then you can have a game where it's less than 14 points and it is. We had talked about, some of the scores in some of these games where teams backdoored it to make it look close.
yeah.
One of Vanderbilt Commodores last week against Texas, with no disrespect. Yep. And then on the Oklahoma Texas game was a coin flip game that came down to a very poorly SEC officiated punt return for touchdown, which has been a trend this year for whatever reason in the SEC. Just absolute haymakers of poor calls. A game Texas probably wins anyways, but it's probably not a double-digit win without that.
Yeah.
It's crazy out here, man, in these SEC streets with these weird calls.
So, what y'all's take on Georgia right now?
I think Georgia is elite at making elite plays in critical moments. And I think that's why I do think they win both of those games, even without the controversial calls. I can tell out Auburn. You know why? Because Auburn had 25 yards in the second half.
Auburn's just pesky as hell on defense. That's all they are.
Good defense.
Solid defensively.
Yes, Auburn has an excellent defense. Whatever we did to Jackson Arnold ruined that kid. I don't think he'll ever be able to recover from whatever we did to that kid.
He needs to just convert to a running
So-
back and becomes Cam Scatabo 2.0. Simple as that.
If you look at Georgia's remaining schedule, I actually see a scenario where they're not even sniffing the playoffs at the end.
Oh,
Sure.
I mean, they have Georgia Tech and Texas. Those are losable games.
And at Mississippi State this year, that's an absolute handful.
Thorn. They've been a thorn.
Yeah. Jeff
Um,
Lebby, I
all
think
three
he's
of them.
ready.
Jeff Lebby's done a good job. I think there's no doubt about that. I think he deserves respect.
I will say this: if Mississippi State gets rid of Jeff Lebby, that's one of the stupidest decisions they could ever make as a university.
That's something being considered.
I have to say he's safe down there.
Oh yeah, I mean, one of his best friends is their AD, right?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm saying so I should reiterate there's a lot of fans saying that I don't know if Lebby's the right fit. I don't know if Lebby's the right fit. I think he is.
It's
He
not the
is.
right. They lost to Oklahoma last week. What are people doing? What do people watch? And Oklahoma fans, you watch this Oklahoma team this year, and listen, I've been a guy who has been hard on Brent Venables. I
Mhm.
gave him. I said this year he's either going to prove he is or prove he's not, because last year was weird. We don't know if it was just because of the injuries on the roster or because he sucked. We don't know. We know now. Look at the Oklahoma roster. The roster's better. The talent's better. Sometimes it's not about hurrying up and finding somebody else. And I think Tennessee needs to remember what they were before Heupel when they're saying
Yes.
they're saying, right? Heupel's been a good coach. Now, I've been on the record as an Oklahoma fan who said I didn't really want Heupel to be my head coach, but if Heupel was the head coach, he was doing what he's done at Tennessee, I would not want him to be gone. So
Yeah,
No.
that's
so,
fair. Very fair.
And I've actually gone on record a couple places this week addressing these Tennessee fans. I think they're idiots. And here you go. You can clip it. If you're a Tennessee fan and you think Josh Heupel needs to be fired, you don't know football. Because let me tell you, with what he replaced on that roster, your quarterback, your NFL draft pick running back, your top 2 wide receivers and 4 offensive linemen, and you turn that into the number 1 offense in the country, you've done some coaching.
yeah,
You shouldn't be fired for that.
no, for sure. I think Tennessee, and then they want their defensive coordinator gone. Unless I'm insane, that's the same defensive coordinator that had that really good defense that they just had last year, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Tim Banks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one bad year in this era where you lose both of your corners that are supposed to be all-American level players, that's very difficult to deal with.
Yep.
And again, if they don't want those defensive players, I will be glad to take Farouk off their hands next year in the transfer portal.
And here's the thing about that defense that people aren't paying attention to.
They get
They
sacked.
played 13 freshmen on that side of the ball this year.
Yeah,
They're going with the youth movement.
Yeah, they're going to get burned through the fire, and they're going to be fine next year.
Yep. Makes
They
sense.
actually played their best game of the season against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of that problem is John Mateer not quite being himself until I think he found himself finally in that second half. At least I'm hoping that's what happened. But he hasn't played very well since the surgery. Outside of 2 halves of football, he played pretty good in the first half against Ole Miss, and then he played very well in that second half, save whatever got into his head to tell him to pull the RPO and throw it into a crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked the way he started pulling it and running it against Tennessee. I thought he looked fantastic in the second half.
By the way, did you see that one idiot OU fan who grabbed John Mateer's thumb?
No.
I did not.
So going into the game, uh, John Mateer was holding his hand out to give high fives to fans, and an OU fan dapped him up and squeezed his throwing thumb.
Oh
And he
God.
Why would you do that?
That is a hell of a question. Maybe he's just a fan of Michael Hawkins Jr. I don't know the answer.
Oh man.
It was a
All right,
decision.
so these previews right here, there's one game that is noticeably not on here, and that is Navy Notre Dame. I didn't add it because I feel like all three of us are going to agree that Notre Dame should beat the absolute dog snot out of them. Like it shouldn't even be a close game.
I
I
mean,
don't think there's anything to defend it at this point.
the way Navy urinated down their legs on Saturday against North Texas, I wouldn't have it on here either.
And that's honestly that's why. So I picked a different G5 game to put on there that I think is going to be a good game.
Interesting.
So Tim will be back shortly. He's having some technical difficulties. All good. Let's start out with arguably the best game of the weekend right here. Texas Tech BYU. BYU is a physical team. Texas Tech is a team that they have a really good offense and they finally have a defense to match, which is something they've never had.
I think
And they have their quarterback back.
I think BYU at home. I think the freshman quarterback becomes a household name this week. And I say that because I can't remember his name right off the top of my lips at this point.
Isn't it Bachmeier?
Bachmeier, that's it. I think they go in there and physically beat up Texas Tech.
I think Tech rolls. I think Texas Tech is one of the most dangerous teams in the country. I am beyond sold on this team. And I would never say that about a Tech. I haven't felt this confident about a Texas Tech team since Michael Crabtree was there. So,
fair.
Just my take. All right, next game, Vanderbilt Auburn. I think Vanderbilt should win this game. I think Diego Pavia just has a get it right game, but Auburn is pesky as hell on defense. Mm-hmm. They will shut down Vanderbilt's offense, I think. I really do think so. The problem is Auburn doesn't have an offense.
At all.
And I think had they had a bye week to prepare after the firing of Hugh Freeze, I think they would have been in a better spot. But I don't think you can get this done in a week. So I think Vanderbilt wins by multiple scores. But I think it's a low-scoring game regardless. I think it's like a 17-3 kind of game.
So we went in there last year. They have an absolute stud at safety at Auburn. So in order for Vanderbilt for the offense to get rolling, they're going to have to get him pulled away from the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Pavia's passing numbers are going to be a little bit elevated this week because I think they're going to go strategy with the deep ball just to pull that safety away from the line of scrimmage to open up the run game.
Will they actually run the football?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm still questioning every decision they've made after that Alabama game. That still blows my mind.
So the biggest question mark I had is why didn't Steve Gregory stop blitzing against Texas? He blitzed the entire game. They never sniffed Arch Manning. And all Arch Manning did, we had the outside shut down, which was supposed to be our weak spot. We shut down the outside, sans the Ryan Wingo touchdown, and everything was hot route across the middle all day long. That's the only question I've had on this entire season is why did you blitz on every play? That's what cost them the game against Texas because they weren't getting home and it had no effect and all it did was get their linebackers burned across the middle.
Yep. All right, so for the big game to talk about, Texas A&M, Missouri. Missouri, a new quarterback. A&M's trying to stay hot. Tim, I know you had a take on this game a little while ago. Why don't you reiterate it for us?
So Texas A&M's one big weakness is that their rush defense is akin to a gate without a latch. They can absolutely be had in the run game. And Missouri, one of the top rushing teams in the country due to Ahmad Hardy's status as a top running back in the SEC. I think that presents issues. They're at home. Texas A&M, they just love finding ways to lose games over the years. I know they've been good this year, but they beat Notre Dame early in a game they kind of controversially won because, of course, the SEC refs are awful and somehow didn't call a hold that prevented a clear sack on Marcel Reed that would have ended the game for Notre Dame, and instead became a touchdown on a fourth and goal, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And then the rest of their schedule has been awful, and they've been up and down. Sometimes they're awesome, like they were against LSU that night that got Brian Kelly fired, and sometimes they're flipping coins with Texas or with Arkansas. Who really is A&M? I don't know the answer. I don't know, but you got to give them credit for winning games because listen, it's hard to win college football games right now.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody should look a gift horse in the mouth. It's very hard to win. It's not a beauty pageant contest like it once was. But I don't know that I trust A&M. I don't. I really feel like if Missouri plays well on defense, that they'll have a real good chance to win this game.
And that,
See, I've got an interesting take on that game as well. So
yeah.
Ahmad Hardy, his numbers are skewed. Most of his production came early in the season against defenses that weren't as strong as a wet paper sack.
Sure.
Once they got into SEC play, his numbers have gone down every week. They do not use him on third down. They don't use him in short yardage situations. So you're getting him in early downs where he's able to get more yards instead of the third and shorts and stuff like that. Another interesting part is with their defense, when they got into the fourth quarter against Vanderbilt and Pavia started being able to get away from their defensive ends a little bit and affect the running game, that's where they had a problem. And that's exactly what I see Marcel Reed doing. I think Texas A&M handles them with ease.
Okay. Well, I could see that scenario happening, especially if Zollers isn't really game, because, what happens if A&M scores a touchdown to start the game and they get punched in the mouth? Like, are they going to respond?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we know the edge play for Missouri is very good.
Yep.
A&M's offensive line, I think, is probably the strength of their offense. But if they can get some pressure on Marcel Reed, Marcel Reed is a guy who's a very inconsistent player from a standpoint of his ball location and how he gets the ball out. Obviously, he puts up great numbers. I mean, he has Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver to throw the football to and Moss to hand it to. So, of course, he's going to have some good numbers. But
Moss isn't back yet.
Was he still back? He's still out? I thought he was back for this game.
Oh, is he back? Okay, I haven't heard that he's back yet. So,
but maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, you've got good players to work with. If you're A&M, obviously they have got the best talent. I just think that this might be a schematic problem for them. But it all comes down is this too big of a moment for the freshman Zollers? It could be.
Yeah, because you can't really base his play off of what you saw when he came in against Vanderbilt because it was a completely different situation. He didn't have time to prepare for this game as a starter. Or not me now he does that. He didn't prepare for Vanderbilt like that. So he just came in with momentum going. And he was a new look, so it's hard to change your game plan to combat that. So now it's going to be a little bit different. And I think it might be a little bit too much for him.
It is it is quite a travel for A&M. I think it's over
Sure.
a well. It's very hard to win on the road in the SEC, and even
Mhm.
Alabama. I mean, again, that was with Prbula, but Alabama even, they probably should have pulled away. But Alabama's one weakness is they just don't know how to finish teams this year,
Yeah.
and decided that since Alabama wasn't willing to finish them, that they would go ahead and stick around.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, but I actually think that A&M, I find that game interesting because I could see both scenarios that both Chris and I talked about happening. It
Mhm.
just kind of depends on what we get out of Missouri's quarterback play. Can he complement the run game?
Yeah.
It's fair. It's very fair. All right. A big G5 game. Tulane looks to play upset against Memphis, who is the current projected G5 representative in the college football playoff. I personally think that Tulane gets it done. They lose to really good teams. Simple as that. I think Memphis is a fine team, but I can't get over the fact that they lost to UAB. I'm sorry. That really just bothers the crap out of me. And for that, I think Tulane beats them.
So for me, sure as heck doesn't look like John Summerall is really interested in coaching the Green Wave right now.
It's true. But then
They do.
again, he could be trying to boost his resume even more.
I mean, they literally looked like they didn't practice all week when they played UTSA last week.
That is fair. That's very
They look
fair.
they look literally terrible.
Jeff
And
Trevor went in there, punched John Summerall right in the mouth, and said, "Take it and like it."
honestly, UTSA might have had as many rushing yards on Tulane as they did A&M.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, obviously, if Tulane plays their best, I think they're a better team. They have a better roster. I don't think that's questioned. Tulane's roster is a P5 roster. It's a bottom tier, bottom level P5 roster. They've got guys that people take every year.
Mhm.
Sure.
They have good players. Memphis is at home. Until they prove to me that last week was a fluke, that image is hard for me to forget in my head what Tulane did against UTSA.
Yeah.
So
See, and I'm of the opinion the UAB thing. I don't think Memphis knew what they were preparing for because that was the week that they fired Trent Dilfer, and I think UAB was just excited to get rid of Trent Dilfer and their players played free for a change, and Memphis didn't know what they were getting. I think that's an aberration. I think Memphis handles business.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's move to the Big Ten. Oregon goes on the road to Iowa. If this game were in Eugene, I think we know who I would instantly pick, but Iowa's pesky, just like Auburn. Can Iowa pull it out? Or do they just play another close game and let their fans down?
If this were a night game, I would lean Iowa, but it's a 2:30 game. I I don't think Iowa's got enough speed with their linebackers or on their D ends where they can. I don't think they can have the speed on the defensive ends where they can get upfield and force everything into the middle. And if it is forced in the middle, I don't think they have enough speed in their linebackers to get in the middle and plug the holes as good as what would need to be done against this Oregon team. I'm taking Oregon. I think it's going to be around 27-13.
I think that's fair.
points against the Hawkeyes. Oh
Yep.
man, that don't happen too. Honestly, I'm going to be completely real with you. I don't know what to expect. I don't know that I think that I respect Oregon that much this year. I know what I'm getting from Iowa. I feel like I know what I'm going to get from them. I'm not sure if Oregon is better or worse than that. I think this is a very interesting week for the other Big Ten teams because even though Penn State's been terrible, Indiana has to go play a team that has a lot more talent than them, and they haven't really had to do that this year outside of Oregon. Oregon's in a transition year, even though they have a really good record. They've really only they've really only played Indiana and they lost that game at home. I don't know what I'm getting out of those either. I don't know what I have in Oregon. I don't know if they're better than Iowa. I think on paper they are. I'm not sure that this game's going to be played on paper. That's where I'm at. I think Iowa could punch them in the mouth. They're really physical. I think it could be an interesting game, but Dante Moore in that offense, they've got some skill guys, like Chris mentioned, that might make this very difficult on Iowa. The white boys are not all Cooper DeJean.
It's true.
Mhm.
It's very true.
So
Unfortunately,
I don't know. I think
but yeah,
but I don't know what I have in Oregon. I really don't.
yeah, I think it's going to be a fun game to say the least if you're a defensive fan.
The contrasting,
But
sure.
I mean, realistically though, it's hard to pick against Oregon for me. I would like to see Iowa win to prove me wrong after saying that I think Iowa was going to be terrible this year, and they have
Right.
pulled out wins that they shouldn't. But I don't know. I just don't think they can pull it out even at home. I mean, if they do, awesome, more power to them. But got to be a realist here. That being said, my favorite game of the year, the game that I have no idea what the hell to even expect because I don't know who LSU is right now. Are they happy that they don't have a coach and they're ready to play hard for Frank Wilson? Or are they happy to not have a coach and they actually are just really bad and they're going to just continue to play bad?
So I think LSU is who we've seen this year. I think that's who
Yeah.
they are. I think a big part of that is that Garrett Nussmeier has he's regressed. He had an
Yeah.
injury, played well this year. You guys keep getting injury after injury. Guys keep getting hurt. Very young on the offensive line. Flippy floppy running back situation. Defense is good, but like I said when we talked way earlier in the year, how's it going to look when just blitzing people isn't enough?
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen it's not enough against everybody when they have explosive players on the outside, right? And Kalen DeBoer is a absolute monster off of a bye. Go look at his resume off of a bye, freak off of a bye. He still hasn't lost in Tuscaloosa. Last year off of a bye, they went on the road to play a better LSU team than the one that's playing this year, and they
Mm-hmm.
don't. Now that doesn't mean anything necessarily,
Sure.
but I don't know. I am interested to see if LSU has some sort of burst of happiness like a UAB did because their coach is gone. Because Brian Kelly is a jerk. He's probably
Yep.
not okay. He's a dick. He is a good coach, but he is a dick.
Mhm.
And so I could see them playing hard for a week or a half. And, is that enough to get them an upset win in Tuscaloosa? Obviously, LSU is talented enough to beat Alabama. I don't think that's questioned. I don't know that they match up particularly great against Bama. Ty Simpson is like a robot right now. He's just making good decision after good decision. They can't
So
run.
I will say there is one thing though you have to consider. LSU's passing defense has only had they've allowed two quarterbacks to finish with at least a 60% pass and completion percentage. And the crazier thing is our three losses this year are against dual threat quarterbacks, like true dual threats.
Sure.
Ty Simpson's not a dual threat. Can he run the ball? Yes, he can. But he's not running around like a Marcel Reed or a Trinidad Chambliss or whatever. So I think that benefits LSU's defense a little bit.
Well, and one of the weak spots for Alabama is their offensive line. It's not
Mhm.
great pass protection, and you got guys like Harold Perkins and guys like that coming off the edge that have an opportunity to make a difference in the game. And you have that going for you. I think one thing that would be nice is if LSU had a consistent run game. That's been Alabama's other weakness, and I don't
Yep.
think it has that. And I think that if you're going to try to throw the ball against Alabama, the team that I believe has the best secondary in college football, I think that's going to be a tough formula.
Yeah.
Um, So I don't know that that's the formula to beat Alabama. I think you're going to have a very heavy dose of the two back look with Caden Durham and
Harlan Berry.
yeah, and Nussmeier, like you mentioned, like he got a little something to him, but he's not a running quarterback either. So I mean, yeah, the biggest advantage LSU has on paper is Harold Perkins and company rushing the passer, right?
Yep.
But to Ty Simpson's credit, he's been very good at getting the ball out quick and minimizing sacks. Getting those short checkdowns where, you watch a lot of college football quarterbacks over the last couple of years. They're not very good at checking it down.
Yep.
Simpson is. Simpson will probably be the guy that has above. He might have 65 plus against you guys, but completion percentage wise, just because he'll take the stuff that you give him.
Absolutely, yeah.
Trinidad Chambliss is not a guy who takes what you give him. He's a guy who runs around like a chicken with his head cut off and throws the seam anyway.
That's
Those
so true.
problems, but they're different, right?
So I don't want to sound like I'm sounding alarms on Alabama. That's a very good football team, but I think there's some chinks in the armor.
There is.
They should have lost that game to South Carolina.
Yep.
He stepped out of bounds, which means on that touchdown that tied the game, shouldn't have counted. He stepped out of bounds, which takes more time off the clock to get that touchdown. And then I don't think they have enough time to score the game winner. I think they should have lost that game. Then you add in the fact that Drake Kirkpatrick Jr. is out.
He's suspended, yeah.
There's off the field issues going on with Alabama right now.
And they've got a big game to do right on the other side of this one.
And then they're looking at LSU sitting over here without a coach, a new offensive coordinator, and things are going to be different. And if you remember watching LSU this year, especially in the Vandy game, Garrett Nussmeier was yelling at his offensive coordinator and his head coach for what they were calling. I think this is a trap game for Alabama and what they got looking forward to next week with Oklahoma coming in. I think LSU is game enough to pull an upset here.
I think that's a possibility on the table. I don't know that LSU is good enough this year. And that's
point.
Is LSU good enough? They have enough talent to win. I don't think that that's wrong. But I mean, are they a good enough football team? I don't know. I think that there has to be a discussion here. Brian Kelly's getting a lot of the blame because he wasn't a good cultural fit at LSU, and I think that's a fair thing. But it's not as if Brian Kelly is a sorry head coach. He didn't suck as a head coach at LSU. They went 30-14. He's not a bad head coach. Losing him isn't necessarily a force multiplier for them. The guy they have as their interim head coach is not a guy who's had head coaching experience. Now, the emotional roller coaster of this game and the opportunity for LSU, I think they'll come out hungry, and I think they will attack. I think they'll come out wanting to do something. But how long can a talented but not great football team be game against a talented but good and well-coached football team? I think that's the question, right? Can they do that for a whole game? And they are coming off a bye, but you mentioned they do have some off the field stuff. I think that's a good point for sure that I didn't point out.
So I just want to throw out there, Frank Wilson, he has 6 years as a college head coach under his belt.
Where was he a head coach?
UTSA for 5 years and McNeese State for 2.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that he had coached before. So
yeah, because when he was he's the LSU 2010 to 2015, so the Fournette years, the Geist years, all that. Then he obviously elevated himself enough to earn the head coaching job, and then he came back in 22.
Okay, well, I stand corrected. That may change the equation a little bit.
Okay.
Now, to be fair, his overall record as a head coach is 26-40, but he was at UTSA and McNeese State, so you're supposed to have a bad record at those schools, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Was he the head coach at UTSA the year before Traylor took over?
Yes.
that's scary because that was the worst team in college football that year.
I think that was the team. Hold on, give me 1 second. I'll tell you. I'll tell you his records at each. All right, no. Okay, so 6-7, 6-5, 3-9, 4-8 were his runs at UTSA, and then 3-4 and 4-7 at McNeese State. So,
so he doesn't have a winning record as a head coach in any season.
I mean, he had the 6-5 in 2017. But to be fair, during that timing, I mean, UTSA wasn't in a good spot. McNeese has never been in a good spot.
For sure. Obviously, not all his fault. This is why coaches that have really good coordinator jobs at really good schools need to stop taking jobs that are garbage.
Yes, absolutely. Fully agree. And I mean, realistically too, like when he was at these schools, the one thing I can say is his offenses, not bad. It's just he didn't have much to answer with on the defensive side of the ball. But it's all good. The one thing I can say that I do know for a fact is that one thing Brian Kelly did not do is he basically ran simulations on defense. He didn't run in practice. Like he didn't run it to where you were duplicating the other team's offense for them to adjust to that in practice. He was doing something totally different. So Blake Baker went and he basically said, "Hey, this is how I want practice to be." So they've modified how they're planning defensively, which kind of excites me a little bit, if I'm being honest. And then, bringing in former players to talk to the team, which that's another thing Brian Kelly quit allowing when he stepped in was alumni coming in. He pretty much had them almost banned from the facilities, essentially. So now that everybody's connected, everybody's, cool again, I like it. I don't really have a pick for the game because I don't know what to expect. I mean, I want to go in with high hopes, but I also want to be a realist and know what I've seen on the field all season to this point, and don't have much. I mean, I don't have a reason to say, "Hey, I think LSU goes in and wins." So I'm just on the fence right now with it. I wouldn't bet $1 on this game, I guess is the easy way to put it.
That's fair.
So, all right. So the fun part right here. Got 11 teams that need a head coach. That's quite a bit. I mean, honestly, I guess looking at this, this is almost an order of how I would rank the jobs now that I'm looking at this. I actually just was looking at I was just looking at a list online and I was just pulling in logos and lining them up. But now I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's kind of how I would rank these jobs.
But
you made a mistake on one.
Huh?
You made a mistake on one.
Who?
Maryland's not looking for a head coach. Virginia Tech is.
I thought Mike Loxley got fired the other day.
It was a fake report.
You got to be kidding me.
Nope, it was a fake report.
Okay, well, pretend that Maryland's not on there.
It's Virginia Tech.
Pretend that M is a VT, right?
Yeah. There's a V in the middle of that M, so just pretend that's there. It identifies as Virginia Tech today.
Is it M for Maryland or is it W for Wumbo?
But no, looking at these jobs, I mean, realistically, let's be honest, Colorado State's just going to get a young up-and-comer whippersnapper probably to take over and be just the filler until that person goes on to bigger and better things. Simple as that. Oregon State has Ed O 2.0 currently as their interim. And I have no idea who you hire because let's be real, I think Oregon State might be one of the worst teams in the country.
I would rather get a job at Oregon State than Oklahoma State right now.
That is true. Oklahoma State is pretty screwed, to be honest.
Gundy can't make it work. A Hall of Fame coach. What the hell do they think is going to happen with the next guy?
I mean, it depends on what kind of money they have to spend. I mean, they need a guy like G.J. Kinney to come in and take over. I think he's their only hope.
Well, why do you think Mike Gundy, a guy who won 11 games 3 years ago, can't win suddenly?
I mean, he
financials,
out. Yeah,
and simple as that. And I think with him getting a lack of financial backing, I also think that he lost his passion for coaching as well.
Oh, when they wouldn't give him NIL money, it's hard not to lose your passion.
Yeah, I mean, like, why try at that point? If you know you're set up for failure,
Mhm.
why are you going to put in extra effort that's unnecessary?
Mhm.
So,
Well,
um,
and last year he had a team on paper that should have been a Big 12 championship contender, and they didn't win a single Big 12 game.
yep,
Yeah.
absolutely
So
embarrassing.
their best
I
player,
do
Kendall Daniels, also looked like he was garbage last year at Oklahoma State, and then he transferred to Oklahoma, and he's one of the best defensive players in the SEC.
There you go.
I mean,
Um,
culture sucks.
yeah. Virginia Tech. I mean, honestly, if Beamer doesn't take that job, he's stupid.
I'm hearing that they've got pretty much a done deal with somebody, and if
Who?
that's who they're getting, oh my God.
Who?
The word is James Franklin's been on campus 3 times in the past 2 weeks.
Interesting. That'd be a good move for them.
That'd be a
Wow.
shocking move for Franklin.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked to even hear that. I thought he would look better at Auburn, to be honest.
I
Um,
actually had Franklin pegged for Arkansas.
I could see that too. I think Stanford's a good opportunity, but honestly, I think Andrew Luck needs to just suck it up and become a head coach and be done with it.
So, little known fact, about 6 weeks ago, a former player, alumnus, dumped $50 million into Stanford's NIL for football.
Hmm.
I don't know who that player was. I have some assumptions.
I bet they play for the 49ers.
He was in that. He was in my thought process there, but there's an NFL owner that used to play at Stanford too.
Who, Elway?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Elway's probably Elway, because Richard Sherman doesn't strike me as a guy who would donate $50 million.
No,
And Elway's got that kind of money.
for sure. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
But I
Christian
wanted to.
McCaffrey, maybe.
I wanted to throw
Yeah.
some pushback on this is how you would rank these teams.
Well,
I
he
would-
said that it could have been a ranking because it's pretty close.
I would put LSU somewhere in that bottom row.
How? LSU is the best job opening in the
Okay?
country.
You got to hear me out on this, though. You have no AD. You have no university president. Red flags.
Not true.
And
7 hours ago, new president, new AD, no interim title. Done.
okay, those would have been red flags. However, the governor came out and said something last week.
Sure.
Right? He called out Jimmy Sexton and Trace Armstrong by name and said, with his power in the state, he is on the board of trustees because he is the governor, that they will not do any contract unless it's incentive based. Jimmy Sexton and Trace Armstrong have both come out and said they will not advocate nor negotiate for any of their clients to take a job at LSU on an incentive-based contract. You just eliminated 96% of college football head coaches in Power 5 or in the Power 4.
So I can go ahead and tell you now that there has been a lot of talk since those statements were made. The governor is going to have next to no input in terms of who the next coach is or how the contract is.
If the agents are saying they will not advocate for their client or negotiate on their behalf to take a job at LSU, you just eliminated 96% of Power 4 coaches.
At the end of the day, money talks.
It's also LSU, but I will say this: there are some red flags about LSU.
Yes.
And the number one red flag is obviously if a government official in your state is coming out and putting his nose where it doesn't belong, and he doesn't know basic information like the taxpayer is not paying the buyout. That's a bad thing. That's a real bad thing, because this guy doesn't know his what from a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
He's an idiot, because
He is.
you don't come out and start. They hired a really good AD. They fired a really good AD because the governor of the state is ignorant to how. I mean, he didn't get fired. They mutually parted ways, but they lost a really good AD because the governor is an ignorant moron and he doesn't know what the heck he's talking about, and he got involved in something that he really, I'm pretty sure Louisiana is losing SNAP benefits. He should probably be worried about some more important things.
Fair.
And it's kind of ridiculous, honestly. And that would piss me off if I was a head coach. I would not want to go there. And also, here's the other thing. It's a high rolly job, okay? But guess what? What you just fired a coach who was 30 and 14, right? In the last couple of years, and I get it. That's not LSU standard, but he still got fired. Did you not fire the last two national championship winning head coaches as well?
Yeah.
Right. So those are problems that I would have, right? So if I'm a guy now, if I'm like an up and coming coordinator, or I'm at a job that's just clearly inferior to LSU, I would want to go to LSU because LSU is a great job with a great opportunity. I mean, look at the fact that they have all that class is not going nowhere. You know why? Because them boys from Louisiana, they're from the boot. They ain't leaving LSU anyway, right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge plus, right? You're going to go in there, you're going to inherit a top 10 class automatically because those boys in Louisiana are like that, right? So that's a positive. You're going to get money because even though the governor says whatever he's going to say, let's keep it real. LSU is not going to be willing to throw away their football program because the governor of Louisiana is an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay? That's fact. But the big problem that they're going to have is why in the hell would Lane Kiffin leave a very good job that he's made a very good job in Ole Miss to go to LSU, right? So how are you going to lure somebody? How are you going to lure somebody away that has an established brand that can now win a national championship where they are and can make whatever money they want? And and a guy like Lane Kiffin, I know he's probably the top guy that you want. And how do you get him to leave Ole Miss, where he can go 9-3 or 8-4 the next 2 years and be totally fine? If things go poorly, and be a king. And also, he's kind of done that USC and Tennessee thing before, and how did that work out for him? He may not want to deal with that kind of crazy,
Yeah, I mean, and one thing too, though, to consider about Kiffin when he was younger, I mean, that's when he had those. So he's learned over the years on how to improve himself. But he'd be stupid to go to LSU. He'd be stupid to go to Florida. Honestly, he has it absolutely made right now. He has full financial backing. He can get pretty much any recruit that he wants. He's killing it in the portal. He's doing good in regular high school recruiting as well. He plays essentially the same schedule LSU plays. There is I feel like it, in terms of job wise, it's a lateral move and makes no sense. Prestige wise, LSU has a higher prestige overall than Ole Miss as a team, sure. But overall, this would make zero sense whatsoever for him to take that job.
But
that being said, use it for leverage and get more money out of Ole Miss, though, for sure.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I do disagree with Chris. LSU is definitely the best job available because you can instantly win a national championship by tripping on yourself and accidentally landing somebody's backup quarterback who happens to be really good and behind a Heisman candidate, and then be like, and you may not even have to speak proper English or know what the hell you're doing and still win. That LSU job is very rare. It's a very rare kind of opportunity.
Sure.
That's a fair take.
I think Penn State's another one that's a good job. They have already leaked who they think is going to get the job. I'm not going to reveal it because I have not been told I'm allowed to say the behind-the-scenes talkings on that. So I'm not going to spoil that one because that's not my story to – sure.
I've heard that for 2 weeks on the Bird app. And not from any private messaging.
Sure. But I think that's a very good job to get. But Florida, though, that's the team that sticks out the most to me, is because that's a school that, in the early 2000s built up a lot of prestige. They're a team that, in the mid-90s, they were killing it. They're a team that needs to be back. But the problem is, since Urban Meyer, Florida has done terrible at hiring head coaches.
But it's not just been that. Florida was behind in facilities until very recently. Florida was really behind in NIL.
Yeah.
and they're still catching up with that.
Yeah.
Florida has, and let's be honest, their athletic department, though very good at every other sport, has been very poor at football. Strickland has not carried on, after oh shoot, what is his name? I'm spacing here for a minute, but he's following a legendary AD who was good at everything, right? And
Mm-hmm.
built a great foundation. And Strickland hasn't done it in football. If listen, Florida's a good job, but I don't think Billy Napier is a bad coach.
I don't
I
either.
think there's a lot. I think there is serious problems there, and I don't know if that's another job where if you're Lane Kiffin, I'm not leaving to go try it out over in Florida because it's not clearly better than what I have going for me.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Arkansas, on the other hand, I think that's a job with a lot of potential. I think that obviously they have a good financial backing behind them.
Given
They
the
just need a
reports
good
that came
hot shot.
out this past weekend, yes.
I mean, do you give it to Petrino and just be done with it?
It depends on how realistic Arkansas is, right?
Yeah.
How honest are they with themselves?
Yeah.
So the information I heard over the weekend is the CEO at Tyson is fed up and has made statements to people around him that he's willing to pay whatever it's going to take to get them into a college football playoff and possible run for a national championship. If you're willing to spend that kind of money, you can make that Arkansas job look really, really good.
Yep. But the biggest key is can you talk a good coach into taking that job, though, is the problem. Because what you've seen on the field doesn't paint that picture, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, the other thing is, look where Arkansas is located. Look to their left. Bigger branded school. Look to underneath them. Bigger branded school. Look to the right of them. Bigger branded school. They maybe are a bigger brand than Missouri, but Missouri's been more successful lately. There's a ceiling at places like Arkansas and Auburn that these schools have to understand that no matter how much money you just throw into the wind, that's not going to create a miracle.
Sure.
You know, money can help you grow, and it can be a tool to drive and become a better program. But like, it's not magic pills. You know, you can't just throw money at something and hope it works. That's just not how reality works. Arkansas is not going to do anything in the next 100 years that can make them a better brand than Oklahoma, Texas, Alabama, or A&M or LSU that are all surrounding them, right? That's not going to happen. And Auburn's not going to do anything in the next 100 years to challenge Alabama's supremacy there, right? I think that they're two programs that have to look at themselves and be honest and say, hey, I'm not saying we will never win national championships, but we have to be realistic that 8 and 9 wins is good enough here.
Yeah. That's fair. And I mean, in Auburn,
Right.
you know, when you look at them, you know, their donors are they're frustrated. They're tired of hiring mediocre coaching. I mean, when was the last time Auburn? Yeah. I mean, when was the last time that Auburn had a good coach? Terry Bowden was probably their last really good coach. Tommy Tuberville was fine there, but Alabama was just. I mean, he was. I mean, yes, he got a championship, but overall, body of work, I mean, it could have been better.
Yeah, I mean, because, again, Auburn doesn't look at themselves. The worst thing that could happen to Auburn was that they had 3 very big outlier seasons in a very short period of time. 2004, 2010, and 2013 were outlier seasons, and they don't recognize that they're outlier seasons. They don't know that.
Yeah.
They don't think – they think that's how they should be every year. Gus Malzahn was winning 8, 9 games a year for the most part.
Yeah.
You know? And like, you know, is Gus Malzahn a superstar coach? Of course he's not, right? But it would be like if Vanderbilt had fired James Franklin because he only won 7 or 8 games a year, and with the 9 every now and again, right? It's just It's not being realistic to who you are. Auburn desperately wishes they were Alabama. I mean, they're so desperate to wish they were Alabama that they invented 7 national championships this offseason to give themselves.
That's true.
Yeah.
They're delusional. They hired a con man to be their head coach. I mean, they're idiots. They have no idea what they're doing.
Yep.
No clue.
I do have a name in mind for Auburn. I mentioned this to you the other day, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
That given what they have on their roster right now,
and
given what he's done with people in those positions previously,
mm-hmm.
I think you go get PJ Fleck.
I
don't hate that.
He can probably convince Drake Lindsey to come down there with him, and you put him with Drake Lindsey and that wide receiver room, I think it's an instant success.
It's true. Mike could even make Jackson Arnold look good.
And he's done it at the P4 level, as well as he could be better off with NIL money at Auburn than he is at Minnesota, and he knows that.
So, honestly, I think the perfect hire for Auburn, and again, you just talked about he's probably at Virginia Tech. I think Franklin is the perfect hire. He's a guy who knows the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy he's a class guy. He's an adult. He's not going to bull crap you. He's not going to pretend and talk about the Lord 100 times and pretend he cares about his guys, and then throw him under the bus, right? James Franklin is a professional. James Franklin is a guy who raises your floor. It's fair to point out James Franklin may not always hit the ceiling, but he'll raise your floor. I bet you James Franklin has more 10 and 11 win seasons than Auburn does. Yeah. I think he's a guy. If you're a serious program, if Auburn's a serious program, and a lot of people react when I make this post the other day in Frenzy, like, why would anybody want James Franklin as their head coach? As if this dude wasn't in the college football playoff semifinals last season and a play away from playing for a national title that he would have lost to Ohio State, but he was a play away from playing the national championship, all right? Mm-hmm. Like, this whole James Franklin sucks as a head coach is nonsensical. And if Auburn could land him, I honestly can't think of a better fit because, again, Franklin knows the SEC very well, and he can recruit. He'll use that money. He'll get them the best that they can get. I believe that, and they'll raise their ceiling, their floor. Their floor will maybe instead of 8 or 9. You have an outstanding coach like Franklin. Maybe you start winning 9 or 10 instead of 8 or 9. You know what I mean? And maybe once in a while, every 3 or 4 years, maybe you make one of those runs that you really liked back in 2004 and 2010 and 2013. It's kind of that adult in the room thing, right? Like we thought the Brian Kelly hire was really good for LSU a few years ago because they got an adult in the room, right? Yeah. And I think that even though that fit was odd, I kind of understood the hire. This one, I think the fit would be good, and the hire would be just fantastic. It's what you want. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Chris? Because you obviously know that man very well. Considering he's probably the best head coach you guys have had at Vanderbilt. What do you think about his fit if it was to be Auburn?
I think he'd be a good fit at Auburn. Yeah, absolutely. He's not going to toy around with and cull any shortcuts either. He's going to tell you how it is. Like you said, the adult in the room. And I think that's something they might need down there.
Yeah.
They need somebody that's not an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Because, when you have an idiot hire a con man, I mean, here's my problem with Auburn, right? And that's why it's hard to take them seriously. After the Oklahoma game, there was the controversial hideaway play, which, by the way, happened in the SEC the year before. Ole Miss did the same thing. Oklahoma got it cleared with the SEC before the game. So the SEC told Oklahoma the play was fine, and then they ran it and didn't penalize it, and everyone was angry. Auburn threw a hissy fit, got the SEC to release a statement, which, by the way, that was by far not the worst officiated thing that's happened in the SEC this year. I think we can all agree, okay? not the thing that needed a statement. Then 6 days after that game's over, guess who's out here tweeting? Their deputy AD is out here making tweets and issuing statements about how it's unfair. And then you have a guy who gets a call that doesn't go his way, on the Jackson Arnold fumble or touchdown. I think it was very close. I understood why the play stood. And, what does he do in the second half? Do we remember how Auburn was in the second half? The man pouted, folded his arms, and cried. Now, then they took 2 weeks, 3 weeks to fire him.
Mm-hmm.
Are they a serious program? That would be my question. If I'm Auburn, who's going to take me serious?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think if they could humble themselves and realize that they don't know everything, and they can have a conversation with Franklin, I think that'd be a fit that couldn't be better. I don't think it could be a better fit to me.
Good point.
But
So going back to Florida, do you think Alex Golesh is ready for a job like that?
Hell yeah.
Florida, I don't know. I don't think they're going to want to do the Billy Napier experience again. You know what I mean? I don't
That's
think
fair.
that's a very good image for Florida. I like Alex Golesh as a coach, but I don't know about Florida. That's a jump, man. That's something very different.
And the reason I say that is, yes, he's coming from the G5, but he's also been a coordinator in the SEC at the highest level and produced one of the greatest offenses in the SEC, other than LSU 2019, that we've seen in the last 10 years at Tennessee. So he's
That's
been
fair.
there in the SEC. I thought Alex Golesh was the perfect candidate for that job.
I could see that. I honestly think that the G5 coach that I think is going to be the home run, whoever lands, I think Summerall, I think they're getting a guy right there.
Yeah.
I think whoever lands him, they're getting somebody special. And I worry that the fact that he's obviously talking to people is impacting the Tulane season, which may impact the perception of who he is as a coach. But that dude is a very good coach. He's a super good coach, and I can tell you right now, Summerall was a guy that Oklahoma was interested in exploring if things had not gone their way with Brent Venables this season. So I know big programs have a lot of respect for him, and I do think he's going to be a very good coach. I don't know. It's hard. The other one, you mentioned Beamer and how he should take the Virginia Tech job, which, like, we know he's probably not going to leave South Carolina for Virginia Tech, even though that's his alma mater. If I'm him, I'm trying to abandon ship this offseason to somewhere else because, no offense, but South Carolina can't be good every year, and South Carolina really, really thinks they should be. That's real bad.
I think the indication for him on what his plans are, I think he was told over the weekend, either you let Mike Shula go or you will be terminated. And I think he made his choice. I don't think he's walking away from it based on that move.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Does Mike Shula get a look anywhere? Maybe Oklahoma State, Oregon State.
Mike Shula. Man,
That's
it's so weird to think that guy still exists. It's weird.
Right?
It's super weird. I don't know. The coaching carousel is super interesting, but, like, what a horrible year to be in the coaching carousel, and Tennessee and Oklahoma fans for a while were wanting to join it. I'm like, you guys have lost your minds.
Yeah.
You really want to have to pay somebody $15 million a year to be your coach?
Yeah.
And that's another reason there's a school that's not on here that absolutely should fire their coach. But I don't think they're going to for a number of reasons. There's too many openings already, and they're going to be way down on the pecking order. But I don't think Kentucky's got $100 million laying around with their boosters to pay the buyout for that staff.
No, you're right. Kentucky it's so ironic, right? Where we were 2 years ago. Mark Stoops
Mhm.
was considered a very good coach 2 years ago, and now, things haven't gone well. I mean, part of the reason things haven't gone well is that they're Kentucky and they're in the new version of the SEC and not the SEC East, right?
Mhm.
I think that's part of the problem for them.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't pay Mark Stoops the money you're paying him to suck,
Right.
right? Like,
But I think he created his own problem down there 3 years ago when instead of giving Destin Wade an opportunity to compete for the starting quarterback job, they went in the transfer portal and brought in somebody else. Uh, That was a bad move on Stoops' part, and I think that's what started his downfall because players don't trust him.
yeah, and it's tough, man. This era is not for every coach. It's a very difficult era to navigate.
Hmm.
Um, very difficult, right? Because you have to make your players happy enough that they aren't interested in thinking and aren't interested in leaving you. But you also have to still have people compete and understand that sometimes it's not your turn. Um,
Hmm.
and then when you're in one of these programs like Kentucky and you're surrounded, I think that's hard. I just don't know how you succeed. Kentucky borders Tennessee and it borders Ohio. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, it also borders Virginia. It's just a tough spot to be in. We talked about this with Arkansas, but Kentucky's in no different of a spot except they have less resources than Arkansas, right? So it's
Yeah.
even worse of a situation, and um, it's going to be tough. I mean, this Oklahoma and Texas move to the SEC, and then not having divisions is brutal for a lot of these programs.
Hmm.
Brutal, super brutal. I just don't know how some of these teams long term figure this out. And Kentucky's one, I just don't know how they figure it out. Obviously, Vanderbilt's done a little something, something. But when Diego Pavia is gone, are they going to keep it going? And I'm not trying to make you worry, but I don't know if they'll be able to.
See, but I like
Maybe they
how they're
will.
approaching. I like how they're
Yeah.
approaching the transfer portal though, because they're not
Yeah.
going after the skill position players like everybody else. Because games are won in the trenches, right? They brought
Yeah.
in 4 of the top 10 offensive linemen in the portal last year, spent
Yeah.
$9 million, and a $9 million offensive line is out here competing with all these other teams that are spending all their money on skill players.
Hey, I'll tell you
I
this.
think that's a
Um,
method that might be able to work for Vanderbilt.
I'll tell you what. That left guard kid, the left guard, the young man is left guard for y'all, who is from the state of Oklahoma. A lot of people saw that block he made a couple weeks ago where he just knocks two guys on their behind, and they were like, "How did Beatonbow let this man leave the state?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a freshman, if I'm not mistaken, redshirt freshman.
Yeah.
Boy, was he impressive in that game and on that clip for sure. So they've done some good things there, and I think Clark Lee's a good coach as well. I think that's part of it, but it is going to be tough because you're going to be resource, drained a little bit, and so it's hard.
That's a good
And
point.
if you're a quarterback that thinks they're worth a salt, you're not trying to go to Kentucky either.
Right.
Yeah. It's crazy to me that we have as many viewers as we have right now, and yet we've only had one comment tonight.
It's crazy.
That
Does
blows
Matt
my
Campbell
mind.
does Matt Campbell maybe take one of these jobs because he's tired of the ceiling at Iowa State? Maybe.
That's the name that I've wondered about the last few years.
See, I've noticed a problem in that program. When they have lower expectations, they perform better. But go back to when Brock Purdy was a senior. They had
Yep.
high expectations, started year ranked in the top 10, and they faltered.
Yep.
They had high expectations again this year with
They started hot,
Brett.
5-0.
Yeah.
5-0, and then just fell off a cliff.
What is it about Iowa State not performing with expectations?
Man,
There's
it's
no
tough.
idea.
And Iowa State was really good last year. I mean, they won 11 games last year.
And nobody
Yeah.
expected them to be good last year. They just turned up good.
Yeah. No. Well, either way, though, I think that got some good stuff ahead of us over the next few weeks. Bunch of good games to determine who gets what, when, and where. I can't wait. I can't wait to watch how the coaching searches play out because LSU, our new AD announced today that they're willing to sacrifice the open portal period if that means that their target is a coach in the college football playoff.
I mean,
I don't.
LSU literally has a recruiting class that's like 90% from Louisiana that wants to stay there. So that's probably a job that can afford to do that.
Yeah, but I feel like the portal there. I think LSU needs to hit the portal more this off season than ever before, and that's going to be really hard when you have a bunch of guys recruiting and they don't even know if they're going to be on the staff in a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. But the other point of that is, if you get it right, it's worth having a year that doesn't work out potentially.
That's fair. That's fair. And I mean, realistically, I think whoever they get to come in, I think it's going to be a situation of if let's say they get a young hotshot coordinator that's ready to make that jump, I think they will probably keep the majority of the staff that has like the deep LSU ties. They'll probably part ways with anyone that was Brian Kelly affiliated. But I think our defensive coordinator, Blake Baker, I feel like he's earned his spot to stay if needed. Obviously, Corey Raymond's not going anywhere. Frank Wilson's not going anywhere. I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting, to say the least, to watch how that plays out. But, yeah, I'm excited. So, that being said, we are about to hit our cutoff to make shorts, so we're going to have to wrap this sucker up. Tim, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on as always. Look forward to doing it again in the future. Can't wait for the Tim Bailey Show to make a return to the networks.
That'll be a fun one.
Exactly. So, that being said, thank you everybody for watching tonight. All 88 of you in here right now means a lot. By the way, if you like rye whiskey, please check out Sextro Rye Whiskey at sextros.com. Use promo code BROOM for 10% off your purchase. If you like sunflower seeds, check out our friends at Chinook Seedery at chinookseedery.com. Use promo code GOLDENBROOM for 10% off your purchase. And also, if you are watching and you are the person that's been making a bunch of purchases at Chinook under our code, please reach out to myself or Chris. Because I just want to know who you are. Because shout out to you. Because we've eclipsed over $500 in sales on their site, and I don't know who's buying the seeds. So whoever you are, please reach out.
Yep.
So that being said, thank you so much for watching. Have a good night, and we will see you actually sooner than you think.
On the diamond